A recipe is basically like, I'm sure most people, not everybody here has probably messed with Jasper, right? Or seen other videos we have where we're messing with Jasper. But a recipe is basically like a template, right, for asking the AI something, okay? Because it's one thing to sit there and you're like, if you, everybody's ever messed around with Chat GPT or whatever, you sit there and you're like, all right, what do I ask this thing? You know what I mean? Like, how to dance monkey, prodding the AI do something. A recipe is basically a pre-written prompt, a pre-templatized ask, right? And so basically what we're looking at here is a Jasper recipe, and Darby, they can get this recipe, right, inside of the aiauthor.com/cookbook, and I'll make sure we call this out. But yeah, that's what a recipe is. We're inside of Jasper, inside of an AI tool with a recipe, aka a template, to go and create. Again, I think that's a great call out, Darby, right? Micro course. Don't get thrown off by the term course, right? We have service sellers that take this same idea, right? And they're going to go and create essentially like a really killer premium little blog post or something, or it's a little mini ebook. It's 1 7-minute video that constitutes a micro course, something kind of like that. And it's just meant to be a useful small piece of content that you can use to give away for free. You can use to sell and get customers. It's meant to help you attract your target audience, right? That's what this is. Awesome. All right. Yeah. Darby, take us away, man. Let's see what we got.
Let's do, Scott, if you don't mind. I like having like a little interaction on here if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
open
Let's do
to
it.
it.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
And
learning.
and opening up this recipe, you'll be looking at exactly what we were talking about before. It's like a pre-built prompts. I call them commands, as well as you'll see inside of here. Inside of this recipe, I'll be a little bit of just the nuance and the syntax with this, but ultimately what it's going to come down to is before you do anything inside of this recipe, we're inside of boss mode, and we need to give the AI context first and foremost before we begin, because if the AI is very good at knowing a lot about a lot of generalized, our goal is to make it more specific and focusing on what's the primary goal, what's the outcome that we want to help people lead them towards, and starting with the end in mind so that we know from steps 1 to steps that this is how we're going to help our prospects, our clients, our customers get that ideal result. And so the example I've outlined here, and we're going to use a different one for this demonstration, but we got your avatar and e-commerce seller and niche and a primary goal, increasing conversion commerce funnels. Now, to start this recipe, all you would do is take this, copy it into the content brief over here, and you get up to 600 characters. And so you've got some space to play with, and you're just going to fill it out with your own. But maybe if you were going to be creating like a micro mini blog post to educate a certain customer,
For sure.
you have an example that we could maybe start with in terms of who would the avatar be? What niche would they be?
So the cheap one would be for me to do Sam Cart stuff, but let's go outside because I want to think probably something that's going to feel more relevant to all of you guys watching. And let's do one really quick with one that's on the top of my head because there's usually like a good 15 seconds between that and when everybody can come back. One that's been on my head is golf, right? I've been doing golf examples with AI stuff literally all week. So if I was going to say my niche would be golf, my avatar is probably like the young professional amateur golfer, like some young guy like me with a job, but is like a total amateur golfer. How's that? We'll go with that. And we'll say the primary goal, maybe at that point, would be like somebody who's going to add 25 yards to their drive.
Perfect. And a good teaching point here, when you guys are laying out your avatar and your niche, your primary goal, try to keep it between 2 to 3 words, a more broad sense. And you might need to like tweak things up depending on how they are coming out, because this is going to have a lot of impact and weight on like the type of outputs that we're going to be getting. And so in this case, it's a young amateur golfer in the golf niche, and they want to add 25 yards.
We got some good niches coming in from those in the chat. We'll circle back, but we'll let you keep running with this one.
Let's do it. And we can go back through and demonstrate it with a bunch of different niches as well. And tone of voice is a big impact here too. And we find that this one, I don't know how we stumbled across it, but it's just visceral emotional language ends up just giving a little more like color to the outputs from Jasper. And so once you've got this set up on the left-hand side, next thing I want you to just kind of take a look at, so you get an idea from the top down. This is the general structure of how this recipe operates. These are all individualized prompts by themselves, but you might have heard the term prompt engineering. And that's essentially what we're doing here with giving them more content, with developing these prompts. And then we're going to be building the content brief out with ideas and with the outline to go about it here. But all we need to do, we don't even have an idea when we're coming into this. All we need is the avatar, niche, and primary goal. And then I'm going to come down here. Now, I call these commands. You can interchange that with prompt. But these are what I'm going to be telling Jasper, hey, write me 10 ideas is for a blog. I was trying to get this could be course for a book. Is it just to give Jasper an idea? I need some ideas, Jasper. So I'm going to go ahead. All I'm going to do is click compose. This compose button, you can do Control J to get the same result. But the idea here is, okay, what would be like a relevant piece of content that I could use and use Jasper as an ideation machine to guys and then choose this makes sense, that doesn't make sense. And what do I want of this like micro course piece of content around?
And so here's the really cool part for any of you guys who are in the AI do its thing here, right? Is AI is only as useful as what you tell it to do, right? And so basically, if you can, anybody who has not messed with Jasper, even somebody who might not be that familiar with AI, or you're not that talented with it, you've been meaning to check it out. All we basically did was, hey, AI, I'm talking to young amateur golfers, right? The niche is golf. And what I want them to do is add 25 yards to their drive, right? And then that tone box over there is basically saying, let's give some other examples, Darby, by like, we said, give us visceral emotional language. A lot of times, maybe somebody would interpret that as saying marketing speak. You know what I mean? Like, I want something that's going to grab someone's attention. I want something that's grabby and has a hook and whatever. You might have replaced that with the tone of voice that's like calm or scholarly, or like you could even probably write like elementary language or something, right?
You can change it first person, third person, speak like a fifth grader, empathetic. You can use celebrities over here. Like Jerry Seinfeld's going to have a little bit more comedic side to it. As funny as AI can get, it's going to be on another side of a little bit more empathetic,
right,
compassionate, and analytical, a little bit more structured, right?
For sure. By the way, really quick, Darby, I'll just give a shout out. We had Mel in the comments said, "Oh my God, that download is the bomb, a true roadmap." So anybody who hasn't gotten it already, again, we're just leaving the URL up here on the screen. You guys can go get the aiauthor.com/cookbook and work through. It's just a free download from Darby. It's extremely educational. You're walking through and sharing more stuff. So you guys definitely go check that out from Darby. But
yeah, and
anyway,
there's dozens of these recipes in there that you can use for all sorts of things, from books to creating $100 million offer and everything like that. So
dig it. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get back to the ideas. So here is the AI has now spit out 10 ideas for a blog related to young amateur golfers in golf who want to add 25 yards to their drive. That's what we just did.
And I don't know if there's a professional golfer that you'd want to bring in on the tone side or a golf analysis, but that would make a lot of sense for something like this. Yeah. Is there a name in the golf space of mind for you that would be influential?
We'll toss in, I don't know. Let's go with Jordan Spieth. So it's Jordan is spelled very normally. Spieth is Spieth. I don't know if you like golf or not. If not, it's Again, what is Darby doing here? We're training the AI and giving the AI more context, right? We're basically saying, okay, cool. This is the type stuff we want. I want this to sound like visceral emotional language. I want this to sound like Joe Rogan. I want this to incorporate names of professional golfers. You know what I mean? You're zeroing in on your market and your audience, right? And giving the AI more direction. So it's not scanning the whole internet for information. It's like you're helping it niche down and provide more targeted, more related kind of wording and feedback.
Absolutely. And so after you do this and after you generate your first round of ideas, you can always go back and regenerate more ideas and regenerate more, and then analyze those outputs and then make the decision on what you're going to do next. So you notice here we added Jordan Spieth, and analyzing Jordan Spieth's swing to help you add 25 yards to your drive. That might actually be a really good idea.
Literally, the moment that popped up, I thought that's probably your winner. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. Like such an awesome, specific, tiny little thing. And again, what's the goal that we're trying to do here, right? We are using AI here to create a small piece of content that either you can decide to give away as free lead magnet type stuff. You can publish it on social media and just it becomes a YouTube video. It can turn it into a mini course, a single video, a quick ebook, something that you could sell and boost your customer acquisition, turn more followers into paying customers, right? And so what are we trying to do? We're trying to create something small, something bite-sized. And I love that first idea. Analyzing Jordan Spieth's swing to help you add 25 yards to your drive. I think that's pretty sweet. Yep.
I like that one. So let's go ahead and try that. And again, like you've got the ideas, so no need to get rid of them necessarily. You could always come back and do the exact same thing we're going to go through with 5 essential tips for golf amateurs. And that could be your short video, right? There's just a lot of ways that now that you've got your idea, the next section of this recipe anytime you see these blinders, like the 3 asterisks or longer, that just means that Jasper's not going to reference anything up here, but it's still going to be pulling from the content brief so long as you have the toggle on. If you don't want it to reference this, turn it off. But for this recipe, we do.
I don't want to like blitz past that because that one thing is very cool, right? Most people think AI is to ask a question and move on, ask a question and move on. What we're doing here is I call this like progressive prompts, right? Where we're going to ask a question and then the next question I ask, the AI remembers what I already asked, right? And it's going to reference what's above. That's what we just did. That one little toggle up there at the top is a really important thing, whether you're using Jasper or whether you're using ChatGPT. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we are, of course, right now here using Jasper to walk through this. And if you guys go get Darby's book, the aiauthor.com/cookbook, you guys will get a lot of these recipes that Darby references inside of Jasper and can go check that out. But anyway, yeah, progressive, going from one thing to the next while the AI remembers what you've already done or remembers what you're about to highlight is super important. And this is where the real power gets unlocked.
And so as we're moving down here in these options, we want to format and keep giving Jasper the most relevant context. So what I'm going to do now, because I want the idea to be consistent throughout, I'm going to add it here to idea. And I'm just going to go ahead and make the name in the upper left-hand corner of this document. I'm going to make the name. So now Jasper is going to be referencing this again, and it's also going to help you keep organized inside of your documents. But for the next stage of this recipe, part 2, if you will, is now we're going to want to have Jasper help us with writing an article related about this idea related to our avatar in this niche. Who wants the primary goals? Very specific here. And so what I instructed it to do with this prompt is write this as an introduction to this topic, followed by a blog outline based on idea. And so from here, again, I'm just going to go ahead and click compose. And we'll see what Jasper comes up with. As an aspiring golfer, do you ever wonder why Jordan Spieth's drive is so impressive? He consistently hits the ball further than most of his peers on the tour and has won multiple major championships as a result. If you want to add 25 yards to your drive like Jordan Spieth, then look no further. And this is the first round as well. So I'm not saying there's not going to be any edits here, and there will, because sometimes it doesn't necessarily isn't going to be your perfect home voice, but this is a good start, I would say, for introduce your video, introduce your course, and then these blog outline, again, course models, right? It could be a chapter of your book. It could be the whole outline for your book if it's a mini book. You got interest in analyzing the swing, breaking down the mechanics of a golf swing. What are the different elements that contribute to distance? Examine Jordan Spieth's swing. So like, okay, I like those ideas, or maybe if you don't like it, I like to save them if I'm like on the fence. You can just come back up here, click your cursor, and Jasper's already understanding it's on this pattern of I'm writing a blog outline. I've already written the introduction. And now, especially for types of content that we're creating here, you don't really need more than 4 or 5 sections. Right? The goal isn't to overwhelm and give a fire hose of information. It's to be like quick, clear, concise, and educational, right, to whoever you're doing this for. And then it's going to lead them to the next step of
Love that.
Whatever you have to offer.
Love that.
So,
one thing that I know, because I know we're going to get this question, but I know we're definitely going to get the question of how long should something like this be, right? How many words, how many pages, how many whatever, right? And to Darby's point, don't think about length being what's going to make or break this, right? What's going to make or break this is that your idea, your title, your hook, right, is something your audience cares about, right? That is what's going to make or break this. Honestly, if I had to spend 90% of the time making sure that the idea and the title that I went out there with was it versus 10% on filling everything out and delivering on that, I would spend the time on the title. You know what I mean? Making sure that my audience really cares about what I can learn from Jordan Spieth that's going to help my drive, which to me is an absolute winner. And AI came up with that for us in 10 seconds. It was like literally the first option, right? But yeah, don't necessarily don't get caught up thinking, should it be 5 parts or 2 chapters, or is it 1 video? Is it 10 pages? It doesn't matter, right? Is way more important that the idea you're starting with, right, is something your audience wants.
Absolutely. So it sounds like this one might have been a little bit more on point for where we want to build this out from. So is this lady Scott?
Yeah, it looks really solid to me. And this is the part where remember the pitfalls of AI, okay? Like those of you guys who haven't messed around with AI very much. Every once in a while, AI is going to do, if this is a 6-part blog outline, right? Or whatever, course outline, book outline, whatever you want to call this thing, right? Then you might have 1 or 2 that are weird. And all you got to do, let's just say, let's try this out, Darby. we're talking about
Mm.
golf, right? Every once in a while, like ChatGPT or whatever, the AI behind it, right? GPT being the AI behind it, is going to pull in something that isn't what you're looking for, but it thinks it's related. You know what I mean? It's misreading some words on the internet. It's talking about, we're here talking about drives, but maybe it's going to throw in something about putting or getting like things like that. So if I said, all right, cool, you know what, Darby, number 4 there, improving your drive with Jordan Speaks swing principles. I don't like that one. What do we do?
We could just have Jasper go off starting from the third and have it start from there again and give us
Perfect.
another idea.
Yep. Love that.
So implementing the strategies, conclusion, final thoughts.
Yep.
A
Love
very
it.
good point to bring because you are ultimately the one that's in charge of choosing what
Yeah.
makes and what doesn't. And so
Absolutely.
don't think that AI is going to start like coming out with all the original thought for you. That's just not going to be the case.
For sure.
It's very collaborative in terms of your approach to the back and
Yeah.
forth here.
I love that. And remember, you're in control. Like even Corinne asked a question, right? I think it's a great question to answer here, right? She said, authenticity is so important to me as a creator. What are your thoughts? And I'm sure Corinne is referencing the idea of, okay, is it inauthentic for us to be using AI to generate this kind of stuff? It's quote unquote not my work. Corinne, the answer is you're the one in charge of what the final product is. I completely agree with the sentiment. And that's why we never, ever recommend don't copy and paste something from AI and put it out there into the world. You know what I mean? We are already, and how many different times has Darby put his thumbprint on what we're doing here? And it's your job to do the same thing. You know what I mean? The AI is a great tool to get ideas going. It's a great tool to even get you 80% of the way there. But at the end of the day, the quality and the final product that you put out there, right, has to have your fingerprints all over it. You know what I mean? And that can be we're going to take things out and we're going to redirect the AI. We're going to, hey, I don't want to try again. Or it's the specifics, the nuts and bolts of what's going to flush this thing out. You know what I mean? It is you, your expertise and your experience. You know what I mean? Yeah. Great question, Corinne. I love that too. I think it's the importance of not taking the AI's first go at it. You know what I mean? A lot of times it's going to require a level of correction. And certainly as experts, we should be inserting ourselves there.
And on that same note is that because like before AI, like most of our time was spent on like the composition of a lot of writing it out and like actually doing it and running into writer's block. If you take that out of the equation, now we have the ability to like redistribute our time and where we're putting our focus and our like our own human abilities to the ideation, to the researching, to the editing, to the distribution, which is
So good.
like massive, like a massive importance or something like this. But if you have a bad idea and you have bad research going into it, you're going to get bad outputs from the AI because you're putting bad stuff in. But if you spend more time going through the ideation, you can use AI for ideation, but you're developing the ideas, you're bringing in research, you're spending more time doing maybe interviews with other creators and taking their perspectives and bringing that into AI. Now you can now suddenly write much faster because you've done that stuff beforehand and you can pass it off your team that's now, they're not having to write and slug through the content mill of writing every day. Now they're being editors. They can like put more fine tunings on things. Then you can distribute it so it actually gets in front of more people instead of, again, sitting at a blank page and like, dang, I don't have any, I don't even know where to start. And so
I love it.
just think about redistribution of where we're able to put our own resources.
Yes, absolutely. Love it. Okay, awesome. So now here we are. We're at this point. I like the outline. Everything looks solid. You know what I mean? This is more than I need to start working my way through and wrapping up this. Again, we'll call it a mini course, right? For what to say. Let's just assume we are writing an outline right now for something that I'm going to take and make, I don't know, I'm going to make it into one quick video and a PDF. And that's going to be my mini course.